Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of CAA Hoops Insider. I'm Carly Smith here today with Monika Moore. Monika, how are you doing?
Doing good. I'm so excited about this basketball season so far. It's hard to believe we've already had so many games. We've already seen so much growth and development out of the teams, and I just can't wait to see what the month of December is going to bring.
Absolutely. I know it seems like we literally talked yesterday before the season, and now here we are. But, as we look at the overarching landscape of CAA women's basketball, two familiar faces are at the top in the standings in Drexel and Delaware. But first, let's key in on the Dragons. They were picked as the preseason favorite. Definitely high expectations for this squad, and they've delivered like they always do. So what factors about this team really allow them to compete at such a high level?
Well, it certainly helps to have Kishana Washington on your roster. She's averaging 26.7 points per game right now, and every defense is keying in on her. She's at the top of every scouting report. So, how is she doing it? And you have to look at the other players around her. First of all, Kylie Lavelle is having an outstanding year in her own right. She's averaging 18.6 points per game. So, you can't focus just on Washington. Lavelle can hurt you all over the floor. So that has certainly helped. And they're such an unselfish team. It is just the team's mentality to distribute the ball, to get those high percentage shots. They're currently number 14 in the country, averaging 18.8 assists per game, trying to put people in good positions to be successful. And they also protect the basketball. I love the way that they play because they don't want to give up possessions. They don't want costly turnovers. They're number 3 in the country in terms of lowest turnovers per contest. So they play very smart. And we've talked about the offense. You also have to look at the defense. And I am so excited about Grace O'Neal. She has come into this contest. She's so gritty. She's so opportunistic. She already has 16 steals on the year, and that's just in 7 games. And Hedda Satman as well along the rim. She has 13 blocks. So I think Drexel is just bringing everything to each contest right now.
Yeah, some really awesome newcomers to watch. And like you mentioned, such a selfless culture at Drexel. But now let's focus on Delaware, 5-3 overall. This is a brand new team, fresh faces on the floor. They're led by first-year head coach Sarah Jenkins. And, they continue to have early success this year despite the newness. So what about this group really makes them so competitive?
When you think about Delaware, I think there's 3 big things that come to mind, but the first one to me is the most important, and it's the defense. It is all about the defense for the Blue Hens. You look at what they're doing right now. They are number 28 in the country in terms of opponents' field goal percentage. They take so much pride in making their opponent's day their worst shooting day. And when you buy into that concept, you have that mentality where you're going to play that great team defense. You're
Yeah.
going to be very successful. And another thing that I've loved about Delaware, that I continue to love about Delaware, is the strength of schedule. This is a team that always tests themselves early and often, and they don't just play these games, they intend to win these games.
Right.
They're playing 7 teams this year that either went to the NCAA tournament or went to the WNIT tournament. And you have to look no further than the Daytona Beach Invitational, where they defeated Illinois by 3 points. That's a Power Five school. That's a big win for Delaware. And this isn't the first time that they've defeated a Power Five school. They've done it for the past 3 years. We're starting to expect this from the Blue Hens in terms of their ability to show up for these big contests. And then I think the last thing about Delaware is there's such a good mix of players from last year's tournament championship team. And they brought in some newcomers that have been immediate contributors for Delaware. You look at Clark Sconyers, she's averaging just under 11 points per game. She's got 13 blocks on the season. And another player I really like is Karis Idom. She's bringing a lot to the table offensively as well. So I like this mix of players that they have. I think they've got good chemistry early on.
And chemistry, what's going to last throughout the season into March, right? Okay, now it's December, which means conference play is right around the corner. But before we get there, what are some key non-conference matchups on the horizon that really catch your eye?
Well, you don't have to wait very long because one of the ones I'm really interested in is on this coming Wednesday night, and that is Stony Brook versus Columbia. You have a really hungry Stony Brook team that's looking for a win right now. They're coming off of that tough loss to Bucknell. They were just down by 2 going into the fourth quarter, ended up losing that one by 6, an absolute heartbreaker. But Annie Warren has been tremendous on
Yes.
the year so far. She's averaging 15.6 points per game. So she's really going to come to play. But you have to remember that this Columbia team defeated Delaware back in early November. So I think that is one to watch. And speaking of Delaware, Delaware is going to travel up to Princeton. And that's another one that I'm really excited to see what happens in that contest. We've already talked about how good this Delaware team is. Princeton is phenomenal. They are always the class of the Ivy League. They were just picked to win their 5th straight Ivy League crown. They're battle tested too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun one to watch. But I think the date you have to circle on your calendar is December 18th. That afternoon, I am just going to be watching CAA women's college basketball because at 2 o'clock, Drexel is going to square off against Penn State. That's a team that can score a lot of points. I think that's a good test for Drexel just to see where they are at this point in the season. And then at 3 o'clock, Charleston is going to play Oregon. Oregon averages just under 85 points per game. They have such a balanced offense. So I'm going to be very curious to see what Charleston does when they play Oregon.
Wow. Can't wait. I'll be right there with you, Monica. And as always, such a joy to chat with you. So many great insights and really looking forward to the next time we get to talk and conference play. Here we go. Right
Sounds
on the
good.
horizon. Let's do it.
Looking forward to it.